Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the March 24th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. Have a roll call. Sandy?
Sandy's here.
Donna?
Donna Bronk.
Peter?
Present.
And Jim Gibberti, present. Malcolm White is sick. Okay. Citizens' participation. No one here?
I thought we were going to have one.
I don't see anybody.
Paulitis said he was going to be here.
Who?
Bob Paulitis.
He's not here, is he?
Well,
He called me, I told him not to come, he's not on the agenda.
yeah, but it's citizens' participation.
Oh, he didn't say that, he said he's an agenda item.
And I told him citizens can come today.
Oh, and he didn't say that, he said, I was told.
Well, he's not here, so we'll move on. Okay, we have minutes from the 17th of February.
I make a motion, we accept the...
Oh,
Oh, that's okay.
What's wrong?
It's okay, go ahead.
item 7 in the minutes.
Just a moment.
That's not the way it happened. I never stated that the rates were too low. I simply said that if we were going up on the EDUs, we should also go up on the seepage because it still had to go through the plant, and that's where the expense was.
That's right, you did say that.
Item 7, hauler prices.
All the prices are pretty
First
low.
line. Okay, that will just need to be redone.
Excuse me?
That will need to be redone.
Well, that does.
Okay.
All I said was that the hauler prices should be compatible.
We can look at the tape, because she transcribes off of the tape that they provide, so we can look at the tape to see what was said, so.
Isn't the tape available on WCTV also, so I can take a look at the tape
Yeah.
too?
You can.
Okay.
And we should have a copy of the plan too, so you can look at the tape, and then you can change it to what the tape actually says. Then it'll be correct.
Okay, so what do you want to do on the minutes? You want to just postpone them till next
I'm
meeting?
not going to vote on them.
Okay. Hold for next meeting. Gotcha. Okay. Sewer business, 8 Surf Avenue. We have, guy recommends that the application be denied. And
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation and deny the 8 Surf Ave amount of $161.50.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0-0. That item has got to come up on the agenda item later. Second item is 2991 Cranberry Highway.
Okay.
He's recommending approval of this application for $323. The tenant combined 2 units to create 1, and the tenant will be reduced to 1 EDU instead of 2.
I move we approve the abatement.
In the amount of $323.
2991 Cranberry Highway for $323,
Okay.
as it's been moved to 1 EDU.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
400. Two Mattapoisett Road.
I make a motion that we, that the abatement be approved for 2 Mattapoisett Road based on the superintendent's recommendation in the amount of $323.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 400. And this was a result of another, an account going from 2 to 1. Changed the
Yeah, Mr.
style.
Chairman, it was a two-family home, the new owners purchased it, and they converted it to a one-family home. So we have them go to the building commissioner, verify it's now a one-family home, and then we move it forward.
Not a problem. And now we have one for 20 Pleasant Street. This is to be denied.
Yeah. I move that we deny the application for 20 Pleasant Street based on the superintendent's recommendation
And policy.
and policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
400. Okay, that would fall into that same. We have 6 Allen Avenue. This,
I make a motion that
clerical error.
we deny the,
Approve.
excuse me, I'm recommending for 25 Oak Street?
No, you
We're
missed
on
one.
6 Allen Ave.
6 Allen.
Yep, sorry, guys.
2503.
I withdraw.
Now she's fine.
Oh, I don't even have that one here.
Okay, for 6 Allen Avenue is looking at the approval of a $646 abatement due to a
Make that
clerical error.
motion.
Sandy, second?
Second.
Peter, all in favor?
Aye.
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 On this last one, I have a question. This 25 Oak Street? Mm-hmm. According to this, the water was off on April 6th.
Okay?
If he brings this in after April 6th, would it be approved?
So, yes, he can't bring it in after April 6th, he has to bring it in after the next billing cycle. So that'll be the August billing cycle. So the one that, well, actually, it'll be the August bill, the billing cycle from February to end of
Does
July.
that still fall within his year?
It does, he'll get everything back. So he'll be all set, he wants to get it now, and he asked me if I could waive the 1 year, and I told him I can't, that applies to everybody. But he will be able to apply in August, and he'll get his money back, absolutely.
I make a motion that we deny this $665.43 at 25 Oak Street, and inform the applicant that if he refiles after a full year of the water being shut off, it will be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Can we do the
400.
same thing for 20 Pleasant Street?
No, that's a,
No, they go on and off.
that's a snowbird.
They're complaining because they put it on, they put it off, put it on, put it off, and I'm only half a year, and it goes back and forth. And we don't have any provision for that, so we can't do that for Pleasant Street.
Okay, what I don't understand, I read these. When they're saying they're turning it off, are they turning it off, or is the
They are.
water department
No,
turning
they
it
are.
off? Okay, so that's,
And even if
so
the
then you
water
don't know if
department,
they are or they aren't.
even if they tell us they turn it, but even if the water department shuts it off, the end of their season, say October, they come back in April and the water department puts it back on, still doesn't meet the criteria.
No, I understand that, I'm just wondering, I'm just asking who shuts it off.
In these cases, they shut it off.
Okay, so that means that, so
So it
it wouldn't
doesn't-
count anyway. I mean, I wouldn't count it, or consider it. Okay. I got discussion regarding rate increases. We've got a rate increase that we put into effect that's going into effect. Peter has some questions. And
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
Guy, I got this, the cost of processing, and it's now down to 1 cent,
What's that?
the cost of processing at the plant.
What I'm saying, yes, so it's math and it's kind of scary. So you would have to hire an accountant to do an actually, if you call it, audit. So here's what we did, simple. We took the 350 million gallons a year that we put through the plant, because we're averaging 1 million gallons a day. There's times of the year that we do 1.34, et cetera, but we average 1 million gallons a day, times 365 days is $365 million. Our O&M budget is $4 million. Simple math, you're done. So,
So
but,
that's how you're arriving at the 1
absolutely,
cent.
it's a big picture. How many gallons am I doing? How much am I paying to treat that in the O&M of the facility? Which includes the pump stations, the plant, and the pipes and all that. So to get an accurate number possibly, you would need to hire an accountant that would
Oh,
start
no,
looking
no,
in
look
these
at that.
numbers.
The number we've got is the number we've got.
That's
That's the
what-
only way to
that's-
come out about it.
Peter, what document do you have?
So that's all.
Huh?
What are you referring to?
What we got at the
What is-
workshop. The information you got at the workshop. You were handed that, you had all that information.
Join the club. I'm right there with you. So it's a volume thing, you know, I mean, because if we were doing 800,000,
I mean, the way you
Oh, no, I
figured it
like,
was correct.
that logic is fine. That's a very nice way to
it's-
explain it, to be quite honest.
That's the only way to come up with it, as far as I'm concerned. We're not gonna go into an audit. That's
That being the
Stupid.
case,
I agree.
absolutely stupid.
that being the case, if it's only costing us a penny, how are we justifying charging what we're charging?
Well, then what you don't see is the cost of debt, so I have to add that onto there. So we're spending $8 million a year. You asked to treat, I can't include debt to it. So if we add debt, that number's gonna change, it's gonna go higher.
Fine, but if we're charging like the seepage rates, and we're charging them now 8 cents and supposedly going to 10, where's the other 9 cents going?
What 9 cents? I don't understand.
It's only cost us a penny to process it, yet we're charging them 10.
So you're averaging out of all the flow that goes through.
Can I?
That flow that the septic, to be frank, we didn't add it in, so we left that separately. Because we're just talking, we can do this, we can do the same thing for the septic, because we'll take those total gallons a day, multiply them out, and then I'll have to get into the big number and figure out what it costs me to treat just a septic, so I didn't go there. It's not included in this number. It's just to treat sewer, that's it, what comes in the door.
If there was some way to calculate it out, that's the way the EDU was based, that was 10 cents, then I could understand it. That would be infrastructure. But where the seepage is coming right to the plant,
It is, and it has to be introduced very slowly because it's a higher BOD, it's a higher impact product, so we leave it separate, then we bleed it into the
you
system.
mean, the 1 cent wouldn't actually apply to that?
No, it'd
If you were just processing that, it would be a higher
be a
figure?
higher number, it would be,
Okay.
definitely.
But just so everybody understands, I think, is that 1 cent, as Guy indicated in the beginning, it's to treat it. It doesn't figure in the cost of the equipment. It doesn't figure in the cost of the upgrade prices that we have. It doesn't include the cost of the debt service that we have to continue to operate. I mean, it includes none of that, as far as I
Yeah,
can
but
tell, unless you've included any of those numbers in there.
But
And
that's
just
not
becau- and
included
just
in the 4
because-
million.
And I understand that, but what I'm saying, what I'm saying is it's not included in that figure.
Right, that's in the other 4 million. That if the system costs us $8 million a year, and we now know where 4 million is spent, Where's the other 4 million spent? I mean, if you break it down.
Well, you've got what is it, Guy, over $1 million a year in debt service?
2-point-something million
Point
dollars.
something million of that
Oh, and that will
4.
go up when we borrow
Oh, it's
6.
it's gonna
It's
get,
going up
well,
as soon as we
I
borrow.
got the numbers, it's better than I thought, it's like 300,000, 200-something thousand a year, better than I thought. Sorry, I apologize,
No, that's,
For each of them.
better than I thought. I thought it was gonna be around 400, 500 per, so I'm good, sorry about that.
but
I
that's
apologize.
just, that number is just borrowing costs.
Yes, that's, we pay back, that's our debt service, principal and interest,
Principal and interest.
principal and interest.
So the interest and the principal is roughly $1 million?
For, what, 2.5?
It's roughly
2.5.
2.8, it was, I say 3, but it's 2.8, 2 point, it's something like
It's
that.
2 million.
Yes,
A
over
year.
2 million per year,
Three.
per year. Yes, I'd have to add that to it too, in that, if you want to include that. I just did simple, I was asked for, I just did simple
we want.
septage and my O&M, that's it, that's all I did.
And then with the borrowing that we'll have, that's the $6 million borrowing, what's that gonna translate into?
So I got
Approximately.
some memos from John today, we're doing some research, one is 3.5, and I think it was $220,000 per year per note.
How many
ballpark.
years?
26.
I
Did I
think it was,
borrow for how many?
I believe it was 20, I'll have to look to verify, they looked at it quick.
That'd be about right.
Okay,
They got 4,
to sum up the discussion on rate increases, then we are going up on the EDUs. Is that correct?
Yes?
Yeah.
Are we also going up on the seepage rates?
Yes, you voted on it last meeting.
Yes, we did, but I just, after seeing this, I had questions, and I just want to be sure, because I have not given it to the newspaper yet, what we discussed at the workshop. So we're going up 2 cents on everything as far as the seepage rates,
That's correct.
and we're going to 14 cents on all the grease rates.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's what my notes have.
So we are agreed on that. All right, that's all I needed to know. That'll take care of that subject.
Okay, they get, next, 72 Minot Avenue Pump Station, that is the Minot Forest School, that, we have a letter here from Giancola regarding the situation. I have had some discussions with our legal counsel and also discussions with Guy, and it seems like we're gonna put this on the back burner for tonight because there is a discrepancy on what I'm being told on both sides. We've gotta get into an agreement on that. One is we own it, one is we don't, so
We
Until
being
I-
the town of Wareham or the sewer?
6 of one, we're one and the same.
The school owned it.
School, no, we're not one of those.
Nope.
Just depends on who you wanna talk to. It depends on which answer you wanna listen to. We can use your answer, the school owns it.
No, I'm
Or we
asking.
can use the other answer, which is we own it,
We being the town of Wareham,
the sewer department,
sewer department. Who maintained it?
sewer department.
Who paid the bills?
Sewer department, we did it all for the school. We did,
School paid nothing.
no, and we did the same thing for the police department. It's their pump station. We gave it back to them. We did the same thing for Elm Street. We gave it back to them. We used to service every pump station in Wareham, whether they were private or everything. In 2012, we divided them up and said we are no longer paying for pump stations. This pump station becomes a private pump station owned by one individual, and if we maintain it, then we're gonna get feedback from the
And
other
that-
private owners, and we're gonna take care of theirs too.
That did not happen for the Minot School.
The difference here is we're not giving it to the school. You've got a private entity that wants to use it.
Yes.
And one discussion comes down, you can't give town property away. That's a town meeting decision, to be able to do something with town
Could
property.
we lease it, could we lease it to him?
No, well, that's another whole thing. I suggested that, and that one fell like a pancake.
So what do we do? Turn this guy totally off?
No, what we do at the moment is we put this on hold, and Guy and I will talk to Rich and try to get an understanding of where we're going and how we go, and so that he is covered with the storage end of it, so that it doesn't interfere with his operations, and we determine who's gonna be responsible for the thing.
That includes the existing building and the one being built.
What one being
I
built?
believe,
Where all the stones
I
are.
believe we've already given them permission for that gallonage. Is that correct, Guy?
That is incorrect. We told him to tie in lower down the force main. When we,
Brand new one that hasn't come in yet?
that's right, we told him that's gonna be an independent. We're not gonna tie it into that one. He would like to. At that time, we had this conversation probably 4
Yeah,
years ago. We
that's-
started
yeah,
many
exactly.
years ago.
So he can't tie it to what he has now coming out of the old snow building. Wow.
Yeah,
Another break in our force main.
absolutely. There's tons in there, and
But that's already done, isn't it? Would that tie in with what the school is doing down at the other end?
no, the school tied into the existing pump station outfall force main, so they didn't have to drill into the force main to save themselves whatever they saved, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So they tied into the 6-inch. So that pump station, if we were to abandon it, we would have to figure out the valving to get the school just to push out. So the pump station that exists pumps out to a 6-inch force main, ties into an 18-inch. The school tied into the backside into the 18-inch, I'm sorry, the 6-inch, and we put some check valves, and then it flows into the 18-inch.
So the school doesn't use the pump part of the station, they tied in below it?
They tied in above it, the discharge end, because they built a new pump station that's next to it. So there's 2 pump stations on that
Who
town
owns the
property.
new pump station?
Well, the school asked me to take care of it, I said, absolutely not. I'm getting no alarms from it, I'm not paying the electricity, I'm not servicing it. They're gonna turn it over to their janitor, I want no part of it. So that's what this started, because that was their pump station. We get hooked to take care of all these pump stations, and then we become responsible for the upkeep out of our budget and for their use, and we have to address what they're doing.
This is a private pump station on town property.
It's gonna be a mess.
used Only by the school, nobody else.
At one time, and then someone.
No, right now.
Right now, the school built a brand-new pump station with
Yeah.
the school upgrade. That's just for the school, right next to this one, right next to the school. You can go see them.
So they
meet you out
totally
there.
have ownership
They have
Of
2
it.
pump stations.
of the pump station.
So the new stuff's just, so and that's where the dilemma comes in. And what makes it really convoluted is someone, and no one knows who, and we got it through the history, someone allowed that building, which was not him, I don't know if before Snow and Jones, I don't even know. I was told it's back to the Deacon's days, that they originally owned it. That's what I was told, but I don't have any record of it. And Deacon's got permission to tie into that station so he could have his building. So it was for this, because that was built, the school's septic system failed. They built a pump station for that failed septic system. So it was the schools. Well, let the sewer department take care of it. They're a town entity, even though they're self-supporting. Then someone, and we didn't do it because we have no permission. I can't find no records of it anywhere, but they tied in. And so again, it's historic knowledge, and I didn't realize Deacon's was the original owner of that building, so that's far what I
Well,
got.
I'm
Anyways.
trying to get an idea of what's happening today on,
Well, that's, I'm gonna, and you'll get there. So now, so what convolutes it is, once they put that in there, they say, oh, that's municipality. So it's gotta belong to the treatment plant. Everybody assumed that. And because we were taking care of all pump stations in the town of Wareham, we took care of it. The reality is that's a school pump, it was built for the school. We did maintain it. We maintained the police station. But we don't own them. And what was happening is budgets are getting dicey, and I presented to Mr. Andrews that individuals will have to take care of their own pump stations. The police department is responsible, we'll help them, we'll go quarterly at no charge and check it. But we're not buying pumps, we're not bringing in emergency, we're doing nothing. As a courtesy to the town, we will check it quarterly. And if there's a problem that we can take care of, we will. If it's something major, they'll have to hire somebody out of their budget. And that's what we've been doing since 2012, I believe, 2012, 2013. That's how that all came about. That started to split up. And at the same time, we were taking care of, the town bought Elm Street, we were taking care of the town side and the private side. We put new pumps, and we didn't own it. It was owned by the private company. And I had to pay some bills. Wait a minute, we don't even own this. Because the owner was nice enough to tell me that I'm on his property. And I said, oh, I didn't know that. I thought this was town. No, we own that. Oh, then what am I doing servicing it? And it became a big brouhaha because I charged him everything that we put into it. And it became a contest. And he had to pay it in the whole 9 yards. So we've been good at just saying sewer. So sewer owns it. No, sewer owns it. No, sewer owns it. No matter who owns it. And that's my concern. That's all. I don't mind helping anybody, and we'll do our part. We're in the business. But the ownership and the liability and responsibility may not be ours. And I don't assume that. But I'll help people take care of things. I'll do our part because we do that. That's all I'm saying.
What about the new one at the school?
The school maintains it themselves. They got their janitor does it. If they get in trouble,
Nothing with it.
nothing. I won't even do the alarms.
Quarterly review.
No, not even the quarter review. Now, if the school department janitor calls and needs help, I will do it. I'll go there and I will do that. Absolutely.
It's owned by the school, maintained by the school, and used only by the school.
That's correct. That's correct.
But that's the new pump.
That's
It's a new pump
one.
station. And the old pump station was that until they added a business. Only one business. That
But
was it.
the old pump station cannot just be abandoned.
Because the business is tied in.
That's the only reason.
Snow is
Only
tied in.
reason. It's the only reason it can't be abandoned.
Now, is it more advantageous for us to us, to let him tie in to the pump station, or to tie in to the forced main?
I would rather see him put his own pump station on that side, a grinder pump or whatever, and tie in himself and abandon that station.
So can we suggest that and have this done prior to lining that
That's
pipe?
why I
can.
suggested that Guy and I will talk to Rich and find out what we can do and how we
And
can do
if
this.
nothing more, put the T there so that you're ready for that eventuality?
Yes, it'd be, because I told him he should do something like even split the properties, because he's gonna have to tie the lower one in anyways. I don't wanna have this exercise again when he gets the next one built, because we're gonna have the second, well, I wanna tie it to this, we'll have this exercise all over again. So let's address it, nail it, be done with it.
Put it
And
right
I would
between the two
suggest put your
buildings.
new station between the buildings, tie into the main, and be done, we're done. And then he lives happily
So
ever after, we live happily ever
That's
after.
the end you're working towards now.
That's what I would suggest. And I think he's amendable to most things, because as it is, I'm not gonna charge him anything if we have to own it, but he's paying for everything. If there's an emergency backup, he's handling. If there's, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not
Has
doing
there been
alarms.
any of that since the
Yes,
school gave it up? So there's been emergency,
No, there's nobody using
there's
it,
been no
just
addition.
his. No, it hasn't, we haven't had no emergencies.
School
You're looking at a
department-
potential
The school department has
Absolutely.
not abandoned it. The school department has not abandoned it.
No, I understand.
Well, can they?
That's another thing that's a whole separate can of worms. It's not, yes, they can, but it's not that simple, I guess.
Okay, bottom line, Jimmy and Guy will speak
But
to
if-
Rich and give us an
If
answer
he
next
goes
week.
along with your new recommendation, we can abandon it.
It can be, it has to be abandoned. If he moves and no one's using it by DEP law, code, it's gotta be abandoned. You can't leave it. It's gotta be abandoned.
So then, we abandon it, but what's the school department do?
Well,
We don't have anything to abandon.
I was gonna let the school department abandon it, because my premise is they own it. So if it has to be abandoned, they abandon it. Their nickel, not mine.
What do you do when you abandon? Tear it down?
Well, you just,
I'm trying to
yes,
understand,
you
you
can.
said
So
abandon, what is, how,
means you gotta cap pipes, you gotta fill
Okay.
holes, you gotta empty
you
tanks.
don't have to take the structure down.
No, they can fill it in so it becomes safe, level it to the ground, because now it
So you're
becomes,
taking this, okay.
yeah.
There's no structure there anyhow. is
Yeah,
there?
there's two
Other than the
structures.
ground?
Yeah, there's a big holding tank and there's a chamber for
Yeah,
the
but what I'm saying
pumps.
is, it's in the ground, right?
That's right, you go climb down.
Yeah, exactly. So
But you
there's
can't
no-
leave a void.
What I'm saying, there's no structure. above
Yeah,
ground.
there's a manway that's about this size, it's a green.
Doghouse type thing.
You'll see it's a green,
Yeah.
we climb down, and then we got manholes everywhere. So we'd have to fill it in for safety,
I understand.
that's all. That's abandoned, they'll do that.
That's
Okay.
the school department.
So we'll have a report at the next meeting,
Rent it out for
because
Don't worry about, we'll
Can we-
get to see him. It
can we
will,
move
may
on?
or may not be on the next meeting, depending on when we get to see Rich and what we come up with. If we have an answer that we could, have a discussion on that's necessary, it will be
To
on the
be
next agenda.
continued.
Yes,
Thank
at
you.
this point. I'd like to have it for the next meeting, but I won't guarantee it. You've got town meeting coming up, and you've got legal counsel that's deluged by everybody under the sun with their little articles.
Going to the lawyers, we'll hear about it when our term is up.
About the 12th. I think it's due,
you've got a couple more months,
I think they'll respond back on the 12th.
but you're continuing. So you don't smile that bigly.
Exactly. Okay, that's to be continued.
UED. EUD looked better. Moratorium.
Moratorium info.
Speak to us, oh wise one.
Oh, we got two wise ones. We got two wise ones. We got two wise ones out there.
El Pastor Bucco.
What are we doing?
Guy, you've got the most
Most what?
up-to-date information on where we are, what we are,
Oh, that's
why
right,
this is a
moratorium.
consideration. And
So, here's all I'm saying, and I'm trying to use numbers that we are today, present. Mr. Chairman, if everybody looks at the calculations, DMR calculations for March 2022, it's a folder, and this is what we report monthly to the EPA and the DEP. And if you look at 12-month average influent flow, to the left, there's a little box. You see that this moment, our average daily flow is 1.0399. That's our average flow, so that's our base number. If you look through the 12 months, because this is a rolling 12 months, it's continual. Every month, we just keep doing and updating, constant, it goes around the big circle. We have 1.3. We've committed to 246,000 gallons of capacity that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen it yet, not even online. We've committed to it. These are projects we've committed to.
run that number by again, Guy.
246.
246,000
Yes,
gallons per day.
246,000 gallons per day we've committed,
But not used.
not used. So you add the 246,000 to the 1.0399, it exceeds our 1.25. That's all I'm saying. At 1.25, we're at 80% of our 1.56 limit of discharge. So that means that we are done, is what it means. So, go ahead.
Say that again, please.
It means we're done, we're at
At
capacity,
1.25, you're at what percent?
80%. At 80%, we have to write a plan. And keep in mind, the other 20% is I&I, influent infiltration, wet weather. We can't use it because when we get that event, I have to have a place to put it. I have to have a way to treat it, because I can put it in the basin, but I still have to bring it in and treat it. I can't throw it in the river, I gotta treat it, it's gotta go through, it's all gallons. So that it doesn't go away. So the basins don't give us capacity, they just give us the safety of not violating our permit. That's what the basins were designed for. And so what I'm saying is we have to start looking at a moratorium and some serious language of what we're going to do. Now, I'll add another, I hate to add curveballs, but I took back out the things that we know aren't going to happen. GATRA is not going to happen. I think that was why I backed out GATRA. There was a couple others, and so it really come to 123. So we really didn't have significant savings, so it didn't matter. So it gives us a little bit of flow, but not a whole lot. So And I know the theory is, well, it's gonna be years and all that, and we're not gonna run into problems for years, and I'm not disagreeing. Today, I got a call from the trailer park, and they're getting ready to slam us with 20,000. They're gonna put 50 online immediately, 50 online next month, and that Kendrick Park is going to get hammered. And that's coming at us immediately.
That has already been, we know it's coming.
We know it's coming.
approved it. Okay.
My fear with that is Kendrick can't handle it. That's another story. But it's still gallons, and so these numbers are gonna climb, and we're gonna get the capacity. And what I have a very hard problem struggling with is all these little developments, these apartments here that the town approves, the expansion of this business and all those, and this 2-bedroom that's now a 7-bedroom. Those gallons aren't accounted for. We didn't even, but we're gonna get them. And so that further taxes our capacity. So I'm concerned.
Just for
I'm very concerned.
clarification, so everybody is aware, that 246,000
1,000.
per day committed, does that include, that does not include Makepeace, is that correct? Or does it?
It does not.
I didn't think so. I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. And we've still got that whole Makepeace
If it ever happened,
for SOL.
that is
Big time.
correct.
We have a written agreement.
I know we have a written
town
agreement,
meeting.
but I don't know how we would ever begin to accommodate it.
I apologize, I didn't bring the paper out, but yes, no, it's, and I don't know.
Put in the Cranberry bog.
Underneath the solar project.
Exactly.
So I think it's something we really have to seriously consider. We have to write some type of policy that may phase out or phase down or give the town a warning. I don't know, I really don't, but I think the board needs to be aware that we've overcommitted and that we're gonna start getting flow, that we're gonna have to find a place to put it. Now, we're working very hard. We're doing grinder pumps, we're doing things remove infiltration, we're doing things remove inflow to stave off. We're looking at policy that's going to talk about for every gallon you put in, you gotta pay or remove inflow. So we're looking at all that to try to keep us out of trouble. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that we're overcommitted. And that's all I'm saying, is
At
hard
the
numbers.
end of the last moratorium, we approved projects. And I thought we approved them based on what we could handle. Are you saying when we approved those 8 or 9 projects, we overcommitted immediately?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that
And why did we approve them all?
it took us to our 1.24, it took us to our 80%, that's all I'm saying.
But okay, at that time, we did not commit to more than the 80%.
That's right, we
But
committed
we've
up
got
to,
incremental adds to our flow that we didn't account for.
Can't account for.
For this 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom or,
larger building, we're gonna
well,
take,
just a bigger building.
well,
Okay,
yeah, we got properties that have,
I understand, we
okay,
got,
so, yeah, it's crazy, that's all I'm saying.
But you
So-
also have to crank into your understanding is that we've had buildings that have changed use and gone from a one John minor usage to multi-usage within the same building. So that increases our flow, but hasn't changed anything.
but we can't stop that, can we? If we knew about it?
That's the problem.
We're back to why aren't we
I
being
don't
told?
know that we can stop any of that, but it would be to our benefit to at least be able to have some knowledge and control over it as it's happening. Because that would factor into where we go with these numbers right here and where we go forward.
But if we have a building permit, isn't sewer hookup part of that sign-off?
Well, it is and it isn't.
I didn't see it anywhere on a building,
Yeah,
a building permit that we've got in
theory,
here.
Wait a minute, is there, is it not?
there is, there's electronic, but if the electronic, so here's what happens, I get an electronic form that says sewer, you don't have to sign, I've already approved it. So what do I do with it? Nothing, it's been approved. The building commissioner made the decision that there's nothing we can do, I'm gonna allow them to expand, they're expanding, I've approved, they gotta
So the
go.
building department
Can make that decision.
can override our critical
Well, now we're in critical
Component.
needs, which we weren't before.
Well, no, he said by law he can, and I sent it to Mr.
Even though we
Bowen
have
for a
no
legal
place to
opinion.
put the flow.
Yeah.
I try to
Oh, come
explain it.
on.
But when you tell me, I don't know, and I've asked Mr. Bowen for a legal opinion. I said, because that's what he's telling me, and I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, but if it is the truth, then we need to petition the state to say, wait a minute, this is not good.
We're over capacity, and a lot of the gallons we recently approved aren't even on the flow yet.
That's correct.
246,000 gallons aren't on the flow.
It's
Okay, on the
future flow.
building permit, there is a line that says sewer, but that's just a sign-off.
So
all
you're
it-
telling me the building inspector signs that under sewer?
I'm just saying that, well, in this particular one I'm looking at, it's not signed anywhere. But everything else, as far as the,
But is that only for
Building.
new construction?
yeah,
And that's new, and that's change of use. Like, okay,
I think this is,
go ahead.
When they add
yeah, this is
two
change-
more bedrooms,
This is change of use.
we don't even know about it.
I got a,
They have no legal authority, I mean,
says they can do it.
they're not forced in any way to tell us.
That's what I'm told.
Well, yeah, I think, one of the things is,
Yeah.
with this sewer, with this building permit, there's no indication on it where you have to come up with a gallonage, the usage. All this is a place for
Sign off.
somebody to sign off that you've got sewer, period. Do you have sewer? Yeah,
Does it
So
say
that's
what
fine.
type of sewer?
doesn't
A
say any.
cesspool,
The word is sewer,
Just a sewer.
So you've-
regardless, so it's,
that's it. That's it.
why can't we have it changed?
I would like to see you do that. You have more ins and outs, change it. I would like to see it.
If they added two bedrooms and no more bathrooms, there's not even a plumber on scene.
Correct. And the factor is not bathrooms, it's bedrooms. So everybody says, well, we didn't touch the bathroom. I don't care, but you've got two more bedrooms, that's four more people. Four more people taking showers, washing dishes, whatever.
But
That's,
that doesn't show up anyplace.
So that, it would, for example, if a two-bedroom home wanted to build two more bedrooms, physically build onto that house, they would have to go get a building permit, and agreed, there should be something to say in that building permit what your flow is, and there should be a review as their capacity. However, I'm sure there's a lot of homes, and a lot of people do interior construction without pulling building permits. So let's say a home has a spare office room or a spare closet. Hey, let's throw a bed in there. Let's make it a bedroom. Instant conversion. Now we have another person living there that's using the facilities, and that's almost impossible to keep track of, because then you have these other rooms being converted inside homes that
Right.
a homeowner may or may not pull a building permit out, I think, to even change electrical fixtures. You're
Finish the
supposed
cellar off and add two more bedrooms.
With the,
Just hope the sump pump don't
with the
fail.
sump pump,
hope
yes.
it doesn't fail, hope it doesn't
So
fail.
it's, and we're not over capacity, we've over committed. It's two different things. I understand what you're saying, but just to get the terminology correct, so we've over committed. There's still, per the numbers, capacity, but Guy is right. This phantom I&I that is so hard to quantify. Back in 2018, we had 3 inches of rain and it caused tremendous overflows. A few months ago, we had 7.7 inches of rain and there was no overflows. It's all dependent on the height of the groundwater table and how much the existing pipes are surrounded by that. A lot of moving parts there, so it would be ill-advised to plan your commitments up to your 1.56. You need to have a significant buffer in there for I&I.
And that's where we are. It's kind of ironic, when engineers design wastewater plants and all that, they do peak the potential. It's very unlikely that every house will turn their water on at the same time. It's very unlikely that all the flow comes at the same time, but that's the design criteria.
2 hours every morning, showers
You
and,
don't know. But if you don't design for it and it happens, you're done. So they do it, and some engineers do 3.5, some do 5.8. They have different numbers to do a factor for peak flow. But if they don't do that, they're not diligent, because it could happen. It's unlikely, But if it does, what do you do?
And we're required to design per
It's
TR 16, we have to
because
use a
the
peaking
state
factor, it's not,
knows that because you've got to plan for the unknown. When it happens, I can't tell you. Rain events trouble me, and we're seeing a wet spring, and I'm hoping it dries up and goes away. But if it continues on this path, then there's going to be some significance, of rain. Like tonight's supposed to be incredible. MWRA is doing all their CSOs tonight. They're gearing up because they're expecting a deluge. We'll get the same thing. So those things kind of trouble me because I have no control of the flow that's coming after that. I have no control of it. And then it surcharges everything, and we have to dance. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, but they may. I was thinking of pushing it to the next town, but it, whatever. But that's life.
and we have one other item that we have to keep our eyes on, is that I understand the town's moving forward with revising or doing a new CWMP, Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, at some point in the future. There is something called a TMDL, a Total Maximum Daily Load. There has been a TMDL issued for the Wareham River, which is basically where the Agawam River flows past the plant. Then you have, let's see if I get this right, the Wankinko River, that flows kind of through the Tremont Nail Factory, where those two rivers meet at the confluence. That begins the Wareham River, flows out down, makes its way out to Buzzards Bay. As part of a TMDL that was issued, it was either 2014 or 2016, what this tells us is, big thick report, it's done by the School of Science and Technology at UMass Dartmouth. It tells you how much nitrogen a water body can handle. For example, let's just say, for sake of discussion, the Wareham River can safely support a healthy ecosystem with 100 pounds of nitrogen a day. So let's say right now 200 pounds is going in there. They would require us to take 50% of the nitrogen out. So while the TMDL has been released, the watershed area for the Wareham River, which is made up of the Agawam and the Wankinko, is a very large area. It expands well north of Route 25 into the Miles Standish State Forest. So all the properties up there, now, again, there's a lot undeveloped, but any septic tank that's within that watershed, that's gonna flow down into the Wareham River. So we have to look at all this nitrogen coming in per the TMDL, and that will have to be addressed in your comprehensive wastewater management plan. It's not something that we may or may not want to do. It's the reason why all the towns on Cape Cod are putting in these sewering systems based on the TMDLs that require nitrogen removal. So on top of everything we've talked about, when the CWMP starts to come together, we're going to say, hey, pretty much everything north of Cranberry Highway has to be sewered in order to meet, potentially in order to meet this TMDL. The one thing that I need to look at is what are the nitrogen removal rates for each watershed. So I don't have a definitive number on that. The report's been issued, but it's something we want to keep in mind, is that to meet these future loads, to sustain healthy water bodies, there's likely going to be additional sewering required. And we don't know what that is yet, but that will be defined as part of the comprehensive wastewater management plan.
Well,
It's going to get interesting.
is it time to put another moratorium in place? I'm sorry, is it time to put in another moratorium?
So exactly what Mr. Campina
Time to
said
build
is that
another
we
plant.
had the initial moratorium. We said once the construction of the new basins are complete, we will review connections on a case-by-case basis, which has been done. There were some connections. But I believe we also knew at some point this moratorium was going to come back, because the first moratorium, we already knew we were overcommitted, including Makepeace and now TMDL requirements, way overcommitted. We still, but we do have some remaining capacity. We don't want to say no to everybody, so we included a few properties, a handful of them. But we're coming right back to that point where we were before, is the balance between overcommitting, connecting unknown properties, and then balancing the I&I. We can't, we have to hold. Again, it's already, the plan has already overflowed in 2018, and it has happened before. So we know that that's a real possibility. It can happen again. We did put in 2 new basins, but if we get a torrential rain event, all 4 basins are going to fill up. And if the I&I keeps coming, keep in mind, with those 4 basins full, about 4.7 million gallons, that has to go back into the plant. So we got to wait for the rain to fall down, and when it comes in, we got to push that back in. So while equalization might buy you some valuable time, it only exacerbates capacity issues because we have to add that in at a later date. And
Yeah,
if
it's only-
the
it's
longer
only-
we let it sit there and stagnate, that's where the odors come from.
EQ
It's-
basins only buy time, that's all, I know
And
that.
it's, in a perfect world, those basins would be used, probably you'd see water in them, once a year, once every 2 years. When you have week, month-long timeframes, when those things are full all the time, that's your first indicator that you have capacity problems.
We've had them full for the entire summer and into the fall. Neighbors went ballistic, called DEP, threatened to sue us, and the heat exasperates it in the summer. We go through it every 4 or 5 years. It's just horrendous. So there's nothing there's nothing. And the other thing is, we have a approved I&I study from the DEP. It was done for us. I submitted it, DEP reviewed it, approved it, and now they gave us some things we should be doing to identify I&I. So we can't ignore it. It's real, it's there. And to say I'm going to keep committing and dig into that I&I that we know we're going to get, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next day, but we're going to get it. And if we do have a discharge to the river by I&I, there'll be no forgiveness from any regulator. They'll come down on us a ton of bricks because we have knowledge. We know we're committed past our 80%, so we shouldn't continue to commit. We have to stop with the CMWP, comprehensive wastewater, and CWMP, and do something concrete. We're in the planning stages. What are we going to do? We know where we are. We can't say, well, it'll get better if we just keep going. We can't. We don't have that option. We've got to address it. So after the plan comes out, comprehensive plan, we're going to have to do some action. It's going to require some action.
How far off is the comprehensive plan?
I'd like to tell you yesterday, it depends who we hire, but a lot of the work, GHD has done a lot of the preliminary work that's going to be needed to go into it, but there's a ton of other work that needs to be done.
Have you done an RFP for it yet?
No, we've done quotes, because it's engineering and there's no RF, engineers don't come into procurement, so we quote it to engineers.
So we have an idea of the cost.
I do, that's why I put 650. We do, and so I'm getting more quotes to see where the numbers come in at. And so that's where we are, so we're gonna eventually hire someone, and then once we hire that individual, we're gonna move forward. But all that's gonna come out, and to answer your question directly, Jim, we think no less than a year. Everybody's telling me a couple of years, 3 years, we believe a year. Corinne and I believe it's 6 months, but we're a little optimistic, but we're thinking a year from the day we start, we should have some answers, and we should have that ready to go to the state. That's our hope.
Okay, with that plan in hand, that will tell us what we need to do going forward,
Absolutely.
and what we need to put Band-Aids on to get us through to go forward.
Can
Well,
we wait a year?
In the meantime, if we're looking at a moratorium, how does that translate into actual usage? I know we've got commitments here that haven't been affected, so we're talking 240 gallons, 40,000 gallons a day that are in ether.
I did,
I mean, they've been committed, but they haven't been affected, so
well, the committee that, I know it's not gonna happen, I pulled it back.
what do we do if we put in a moratorium now on that request that comes forward for a hookup that's in addition to what already exists for that particular property, for example?
Porta-johns, portable toilets, and maybe some outhouses. No, seriously. What we have to look at, and we'd probably have it for the next meeting or so, we'd have to look at hard numbers to give an idea. When I did some rough math, to really comfortably not exceed our 80%, maybe another 23,000 gallons a day is open. So technically, what Russ is saying is that we have capacity, but we don't. I want to make sure we understand that, because the pushback is, no, you've got the 1.56, we could go all of it, but anything after that, so anyways, about 22,000 gallons of hard numbers, and then we have another 400,000. But that 400,000, when on an inch of rain, is 150 to 300,000 of flow, and if we have 2 inches of rain, and if we have, so I don't want to touch it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but now from actual flow, you're talking about the trailer park. You've got two different sections you said are coming in, so what?
That's
what's the-
included.
What's the guesstimated gallonage per day coming out of that if both of them hook up?
22,000 gallons a day
So
from
you're
the
gonna-
trailer
You're
park.
gonna take and knock that
As they
246
come
down
online.
by 22,000.
Jim, that
Because that's
fo-
already committed, right?
Jim, here's the key to the thing, and, because all these, what happens is assumptions are made, and we guess, and we calculate, and Harry did it this way and all that, but what I look at every single day is what the flow is. That's a real. So what we'll do is we'll follow the flow. So what I'm saying to you, Jim, is we can look at the flow today, and we can say, okay, it's 1 million gallons a day, we added the numbers, we're at 1.25, I'll commit whatever. All right, we'll add till we get to that hard number of what we can commit. We pick a number. Is it 1.26? We have to, because now we're starting to dig into the 400,000.
I understand.
So what do you?
What I'm driving at, Guy, is that you're looking at a potential of 44,000 gallons, is that correct? Did I get that right?
22,000, right now, 22,000 gallons, I think is free.
That's coming, that
It's
will be
free.
coming from the trailer park
20,000.
pretty much,
20.
right
But
away.
it's part of that 240.
I understand that, I understand.
okay,
So what I'm,
okay.
what I'm saying is that, in other words, you got 200, you'd have to up that 1.04 roughly, add 20,000 to that, drop the other by 2, so we got 226 gallons per day, 226,000 gallons per day, that's committed, not being utilized at the moment. But 20,000 of it's coming out right off the bat because of trailer park that we know of.
And let's say by chance, the 40B that's next to Woodland says, you know what, we're not moving forward, then that comes back into the pie. You see what I'm saying? Even though we committed, if it gets non-committed, then them gallons become available.
Right, exactly. No, I understand
So we'll
that.
follow all that.
I'm just trying to look at where you got the numbers, where the numbers
Mm-hmm.
go to make some
When you come by the
practical
plan,
sense, because you're gonna have to, we're gonna, you know, the way I'm looking at it, and I don't wanna do it, but I don't see a big option, is that we're gonna have to establish some kind of a moratorium, but we're gonna have to have some guidelines that we're gonna work under, that are gonna be practical for both sides of the equation, both for us and for them.
Maybe a couple things to clarify, and that was my question too, is whether it was the 20,000 part of the committed flow. You know, the position you don't want to wind up in is, we have all these projects come in, then we're at capacity, then all of a sudden the committed flow people come and say, hey, wait a second, you guarantee or said we could have this, that turns into all these legal sorts of things, so.
Right.
You know, if something on the queue that's been recognized and committed wants to tie in, you know, that should be considered. Few things I've read that I just want to keep an eye on, and I do have some good news to end with all this, but I'm saving the good news till the end of this.
Thank God.
You know, we still have the IMA with Bourne, 200,000 gallons per day. I've been reading in the papers, the apartment complex that was at the Calamar, is that the name of the, and again, I really know nothing about it, other than what I've read in the media. But it's my understanding that that's coming online too. So question, if large and Bourne, is that going to their plan? Is that going to go to the Wareham facility? You know, we also have to be understanding what's going on there as it impacts our system as well.
Speaking of Bourne, let me interrupt just for 1 second. We put the meters on.
We did.
We don't have the numbers yet, and we won't have the numbers for probably July.
correct, yes.
Summer usage for
I just want
Highway
to get a real
Village.
number, yes.
And that's the only thing that's gonna make sense, because you can see by these numbers here that the summer usage is
Right, and
substantially
we've always
more.
kind of
So-
assumed, yeah.
So we've gotta look at that, but we're looking at what what we have for a commitment to Bourne
Right.
versus how much they're actually sending us to that commitment.
Right.
Now, to get to your particular question there, does that new project that they're talking about, which way is it going? I don't know.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, remember, we sent a policy to Bourne that no matter what they do, they're only gonna get 200,000 gallons, not one drop more.
Yeah, but now.
It's on them, we have to
But
watch it now.
now, we can check that. Previously, we couldn't.
That's right, that's
When,
right.
when will we see those numbers?
July, because
Well,
the numbers that we,
You're talking Hideaway Village up there, which is a big
It just wasn't
contributor to the
flowing.
system. It's just like here, we're a summer community. That's a summer community, and that's where you get a lot of flow and increase from.
Yeah.
so in July,
July is when they're gonna, by then, they'll have people there, and they'll be using it, and right now, they don't. So the numbers that you get right now are not gonna be
Accurate.
reflective
Yeah.
of what's actually happening.
So the results were inconclusive.
Yeah.
The numbers, we could interpret, we can guess, we can take numbers, say we can add houses, but we want to see hard numbers, because we're going to make decisions on hard numbers. And so in July,
We've got
all the
those hard
flows coming
numbers
at us.
here.
And you can see how July begins to be crazy.
Yeah.
And then you
Now,
can see,
obviously, these numbers here, that also includes Bourne, it also includes that
correct.
Hideaway Village.
correct.
It's in there.
it's in there, and you can see August.
As
and-
far as what's actually coming out of there to us, in both instances, we don't know exactly.
and
So
as
we don't
s-
know if they're at that
Absolutely.
limit
And we'll,
or not.
we'll find out.
Yeah, well, and that's what we need to find out in order to be able to do anything relative to Bourne.
And I don't want to make any assumptions, and, because assumptions can
One
bite
thing
us.
is sure, the number's not going down.
They're not going down.
I know that, but I want to know how much up it's gonna
Right,
go.
but I mean,
You're right.
for the next 6 months, it's over 1 million gallons.
It is. So we use our average, but again, so just as, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. So let's say the 246 we committed
So
comes to us in
it-
August.
this-
We're in serious
This
trouble in August.
1.25 average, that's over the whole year, that's including
That's right.
the lean months.
That's right. That's right.
And I use that word loosely.
And as we increase our lean months, we're gonna increase our busy months, and then.
And we increase rainfall.
And then if we add in a high groundwater table, that's
It's
the
all-
perfect storm right there.
it's-
That's when
it's-
we get.
Exactly.
We'll be in trouble.
Do we want some good news now?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Well,
So thinking about the discussion we've had, I was flipping through the packet and I saw the hand of possible grant sources. ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, right?
We
There's
better
a
use that.
lot of money coming out through that. The way it's being distributed is that these ARPA funds through the infrastructure bill, these millions and billions of dollars we're hearing about, it's being given, administered through the Mass Clean Water Trust that oversees the state revolving fund program, the SRF program. So on a given year, the SRF program, just think of it like a big old bank, right? They have $300 million, and they want to hand it out to these communities. You submit your intended use plan and your big application like we've done in the past, competitive process. So what the ARPA is doing, instead of, say, 300 million, they're putting the money in the SRF program, so there might be 600, 700, 800, a lot more money in that program. So it's still a competitive process, but what is also being happened is they're looking at the loan forgiveness. I've read a few things saying up to 48% may be eligible for loan forgiveness, which is basically,
Which is
Should've,
principal
we should told me
forgiveness.
that
Principal
before I give my
forgiveness.
taxes.
it's
So-
principle, that's interest at the same time.
let's think about that. The SRF program's getting this big slug of money they're offering, and that's, believe me, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but for certain communities, that forgiveness may actually be higher.
Up to
based on-
100% in some communities.
Yeah, but where are we in application
We don't know.
process?
So,
Oh, in August.
let me finish that. No. So, we've talked, I'm going to jump around a little bit here, but I'm going to come back to the SRF. So, we've talked about when you're at this 80% capacity, this triggers this report that has to be done. The way the guideline is written is on a calendar year from January to December. So, if you exceed that 80% in the calendar year, in the following year, you have to come up and develop this plan. So, let's just say, for example, if you look at this DMR sheet that Guy handed out,
Right,
starting from January 22nd, it's 3 columns up.
yep,
That's where it would start for calendar year 2022. So, of course, we don't know what these flows are going to be, but let's just say this year we exceeded that 80%. If the town starts working on the CWMP now, my first argument would be that, well, our CWMP is going to address the expansion. We don't need to do a separate report, plan, all this stuff. We will address it in the CWMP. If that gets started in April or May of this year, it should be done by April or May of next year. So I would hope that that's a reasonable approach for DEP. And then, knowing that we have the development, the moratorium, the overcommitted, potential sewering from the TMDLs, we really start taking a hard look at expansion, whether it's expanding the plant, adding a new facility. But again, you can't expand without a discharge. You have to put it somewhere. And herein lies the next big thing we have to solve is where is all this extra flow going?
Oak Street. Oak Street.
It wasn't
I
too,
heard that.
Problem solved.
it's a big
But
backyard.
seriously, it either has to go in the ground or it has to go in the water.
Exactly.
But knowing that there's potential for 48% principal forgiveness, maybe more, Now is the time to get the plans in gears and get submitted to the SRF and take advantage of this. Do not wait for this because this is a competitive process. We work with numerous towns, and I can tell you that numerous towns are applying for big-ticket projects.
Okay, I guess my concern is, you're saying apply for it, we need to go ahead, I agree with all of that. No argument whatsoever, but the expulsion of the product is the issue that we have
Sure.
here. That's a big issue here.
Yep.
You know, the only two viable alternatives that I've seen or heard or listened to has been pipeline to the canal or groundwater discharge.
Or some combination. And there's a few
Yeah.
other things we can look at too. For
Okay, but-
example, your permit's 1.56 to the river. Is there any way to increase that permit? That would be a discussion, would have the sewer properties.
Well, that then piggybacks over to your nitrogen loading for the river as a whole, and you're
Right.
talking about the confluence of
The
coming in there.
MDLs,
so
exactly. So if we put more at the
that's
plant,
another
it's
thing
more in the
to-
agawam that we
has
have
to be
to.
thrown into that mix.
Yeah.
And that, where that's not definitive yet, you know, I don't want to see us getting, an upcharge to the Agawam River,
So hear me
and
out.
all of a sudden you get hit with this, you gotta start dragging stuff out because somebody else is doing the polluting that we're gonna have to control.
So a lot of the pollution is coming from the septic tanks now that are not
course,
sewered.
yeah.
When we put those on sewer, that number drops 90, 92, 95% right off the bat. So usually how these CWMPs go is that even though the Agawam River is not an ideal place to discharge nitrogen, it's getting so much pollution from the septic tanks that are, or from the properties that are not sewered. When we connect them to the sewer, because a septic tank effluent discharge is about 30 to 50 milligrams per liter of nitrogen, we send it to the facility, we get 2 or 3 milligrams of nitrogen.
Right.
So it's a balance. It's all a nitrogen balance.
Understand that, but now you take that thing a step further, you know, can the plant handle all of that hookup?
That's up to.
No,
gonna
so
have
then
to
that
expand the
requires
plant.
plant expansion, upgrades.
So that's gonna have to, you know, I mean.
Every bit of it.
What when you're going after the grant application, what are you putting on it? What are we looking to put on it to cover?
Correct. We have to,
Because right now, we're not talking about, we're talking about all of these things, but that's not focused down to the
So
grant.
Jim, so the one that we're working on this week, for this year is going to be the headworks building, clarification, and we're going to look at treating phosphorus because aluminum's going away. So that's one, immediate.
That's only for the existing, you're not
That's right.
talking about expansion.
Well, you've got, wait a minute, I want to make sure everybody is clear. It's a 5-year program with equal financing, it's not diminishing.
Oh, okay.
Every year for the next 5 years, if you read the document, and there's one document that says the 5th year is going to be greater. So we have 5 years, and so we pick up, it's all about prioritizing for the next 5 years. And every year, we're going to pick projects that address the comprehensive wastewater management plan, what it addresses, plus the infrastructure. I want to dedicate 2 years to the infrastructure. So all this stuff is going to be planned out and followed, so we don't have
Say the 5
definitive.
years, would that be a flat fee over 5 years, or would that be an escalating one depending upon the project that you're doing?
It depends on that's a DEP decision. When you submit an IUP, it doesn't mean you're gone. You gotta get accepted and put on. Then it's a separate deal, that particular one. The next year, you do the same process. If your project's picked, you go through the same process. So what I'm saying to you is it's not a cumulative thing. It's not, okay, 48%, or you use it. No, each year could be 48%. So every year is treated differently and individually.
So each year you have to apply.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely.
But each year you have to show that what you did last year,
No, every year is different. But here's the key, and this
but
is.
you don't have to show that what they did last year
No,
was
because.
successful?
No, because they know it, because they monitor it. We have monthly meetings with the
Okay, so
EPA, DEP.
in other words,
Absolutely.
it has to be, it can't be pork.
That's right. They know that because they watch it. We sign off, Derek signs off, we all, it's watched, trust me.
So if that be the
monitored.
case, do you build the plant before you build the outfall pipe?
We don't know what we're going to do. I can't make that commitment. The comprehensive plan will address it.
Yes, if I could just weigh in, the reason, so it sounds like we're making a lot of decisions, kind of shooting from the hip here, left, right, which I agree we are. This is exactly why you do that comprehensive wastewater management plan. We have these discussions in detail. We talk about the next 20 years. We talk about all these flows. We talk about your recharge areas. There's a evaluation process, and the result of that report is this is what you're gonna do. And 10 out of 10 times, it is the lowest cost alternative to meet the goals of the report. So if your goal of that report is to figure out how Wareham is gonna manage eventually 3.5 million gallons of all your future build-out, what's the cheapest way to do that? And, you know, we look at,
Send it,
Well, the least
and it's
expensive,
gonna start answering all these questions. It's almost a moot point to talk about some of these now, because it's just too much, there's too many variables, right? There's all sorts of stuff. We talk about one thing, something else gets interjected, we get a phone call, a casino wants to come to town, start over again, right? There's all this craziness going on. This is why you need that comprehensive wastewater management plan, to identify all these things, to look at this, tie it together. The Board of Selectmen have to adopt that plan, and that is one of the 5 requirements in order to get SRF funding. If you have a flow-neutral bylaw, you can get 0% loan. So again, a 2% loan for every $1 million financed over a 20-year project is about $200,000 a year. So if you have a $10 million project financed for 20 years at 2%, about $2 million of interest you're paying. So instead of a 10 million, think about what if you have a $100 million project when you do plants expansion and all this sort of stuff, $20 million of interest. If you have a flow-neutral bylaw, that 20 million goes away. So when you're doing these major, the town is kind of looking at the direction it's going, there's more and more development, things are happening, we have to keep up with the infrastructure. And that's really what you, again, I know we've talked about flow neutral, I understand it was attempted once in the past, it didn't go through, but we're talking tens of millions of dollars of interest.
being Mickey the dunce here, what's flow neutral actually translate into meaning? How do you accomplish that?
It's basically, so when you put a sewer line down the street, you don't run rampant with development, and you take a one-story, 1-bedroom home and put 8 bedrooms in it.
it's 3+1. So we'll give you an honest-to-God example. Like I said, I think I talked about it at your meeting, and I talked about the finance last night. We talked about the 0%. What I said was, we have properties in Wareham, a 5,000 square foot lot with a 2-bedroom home. Today, that is a 7-bedroom home on that 5,000 square foot lot because sewer came into town. You go down Oak Street, Rose Point, Parkwood, you drive around this town, Onset, wherever there's sewer, you see mega mansions everywhere. We calculate a flow for these areas when we design them. 2 bedrooms, we say, okay, this is gonna be a 23,000 gallons, this is gonna be a 33,000 gallon. And if you look at the last comprehensive plan, you'll see that every area, the 12 sewer areas, they had a figure next to them. That's the gallons that we projected. So if we projected 23,000 gallons and we said that then there's no flow neutral, and we took the existing conditions, even if they fluffed it to an extra bedroom, that's the gallons. That's all it's accounted for. The system's built for that. The pump station's built for that. Then all of a sudden, you get all these mega homes because people can do what they want in their houses. And you get all this flow. How do you handle it? Because it wasn't designed for it. And so with a flow neutral, the bylaw says, if there's sewer down your road and you have a 2-bedroom, you can do a 3-bedroom, but you're stopping there. And that's where the rub is, because people say, that's my property, I'm gonna put 15 bedrooms if I want, because they don't know, or if they don't totally understand the impact, because it's not their impact, it's just, so that's what the flow neutral bylaw says, that's not gonna happen.
You put in a flow neutral bylaw. You also have to have enforcement associated with that? And you just put it in and they're happy with it?
We put speed limit signs everywhere, and you're right, we don't use them. But it's up to us to make sure it gets enforced, and we'll have to do our very best. Jim, there's no real answer, because this is America, and we're a society that does what the hell we want because we have rights. But we have to figure out a way, Jim, to convince the people to do the right thing. So that's on us. I don't know.
The premise is,
I don't have the
We
answer.
have
We
an
have
issue
to.
with sump pumps.
understood, the
I
premise
get it.
is that there
I
will be
get it.
accountability. Does DEP actually, I don't know that, but
Okay,
you're,
no, that's.
I wanna find out, but-
I just threw that out there because I know that's gonna be the issue when it comes.
Absolutely.
When and if,
Absolutely.
do a flow neutral bylaw.
But Jim-
I think it's a great idea because of the long-term benefits that we could
if
get.
it doesn't happen, that just means it's more money, and eventually this comes back to the rate, one way or another, to the residents.
It doesn't matter, and here's the bottom line, is that we're committing to a specific amount of gallons, and we're building to that. And so when we have surcharges and overflows and the laws are getting tough, then people have to say, oh, well, I polluted my bay, but oh, well, that's what we asked for. Because they're not gonna say that, they're gonna blame you and say, what happened? And so as long as we educate them, they know the facts. They choose it, that's what we chose, so we pollute it. So that's, That's the bottom line, Jim, but this is a long process, and I don't, but I want everybody to be aware, and that's why I've been telling, I sat with Derek today, I talked to him for a long time about him and I sitting, because the 48% in the direction we gotta go in the next 5 years is critical. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yes, what I'm looking at is where is the best place for us to start to go forward?
No place. I'll have an answer for you. We're gonna look at right now, GHD is looking at some considerations of immediate needs. Our headworks is shot, we have no screening, no nothing, that's an immediate need. And we did an evaluation that lines that out. So that's a good beginning, because it's already been evaluated, and these are necessary. And then they'll add more into it and figure, okay, where do we go? But we need a headworks building, because it's killing our plant. My tubes down below are plugged, there's nothing I can do. My clarifiers are antiquated, 1972, they can't do the job. When we get any high flow, it plugs filters. I've got 6 filters to plug now, and I'm gonna fill those basins a lot quicker. So these are definite needs that are high-ticket items that we have to have. And then we have to do it, we know we're gonna expand someday, so we have to do it in such a way that the whole thing can be expanded, and extra tanks. So that's what we're looking at immediately. And then we'll go from there, and they'll do something, devise it, we'll give it to you, you can read it and suggest, and we'll submit that in August, for the August deadline.
We need RFPs out to find out.
No, right now, we just
have
need.
numbers.
No, what we do is and Jim, I'm glad you brought that up. It's getting more and more difficult to get quotes because people know the game. To do a quote takes time. So we now ask for a budgetary number, and it's a ballpark number, and that's the best I can do right now, but that's what we do. We do budgetary numbers.
Something to work with.
That's all we do.
Number gives you something to work with.
That's all and then we put it
all-
together.
That's all we can deal with.
That's all we do.
Exactly what we did, remember, when we talked about $10 million for the upgrades, we started very
Exactly.
early on, hey, that's the best number we can come with, but, you know, we have to be conservative.
That's where we're gonna go.
But that's why you have experienced
I
people.
don't have a problem with doing it that way.
That's where we're gonna go.
Because you've got to start someplace,
You do.
and to me, I'd rather start on the conservative end of it like that than to try to nickel dime it down to where it's not going to work, because we've done too much of that in the past.
And I don't want to lose sight, because we talk about the plant, and I don't want to lose sight of the infrastructure. We've got water pouring in, so that's got to be part of our long-term planning too, and we've got to get infrastructure taken care of.
But that would come under that long, to the.
Yes, because there's some we're going to do, but there's
that
some
would come under
areas,
that plan.
I'm talking existing, like an onset that's existing, that's leaking like a sieve. I can't keep letting it leak like a sieve, because it's going to create issues. So part of that's got to go to fixing those immediately,
Now,
because
is that
they
you're
need
talking
to.
about an E5 system?
E1s, I'm talking about E1s, absolutely, because we have to address them issues, and we got to do it sooner than later.
You'd ask the question, you know, where do we start with this? We have a plan, all the infrastructures. Again, without a properly functioning plant, you know, that's, you have to make sure, that's the heart, you know, you need that, that's gotta go. You know, pump stations, think of those as your organs. Some are more important than others, you know, you can live without a spleen, but you can't live without, you know. So you gotta look then at your critical infrastructure, Narrows Pump Station, Heinz, Depot, your big three, right? If any one of those three go down, all the sub-areas they serve also go down. More importantly, you gotta look at those force mains, those are the major arteries, right? If one of those, something happens to those, you're gone pretty quick too, that's major catastrophe. So it's Narrows Pump Station, so you get the plant, focus on the needed upgrades, the essential, critical, what do we need to do right now, clarifiers, headworks, things like that.
So, and let's just be clear, there's a comprehensive wastewater management. We also have a capital improvement plan that's out there, and the evaluation was done on the likelihood of failure and the criticalness, or the consequences of failure, and that's all outlined for us. We have the guideline, we have the plan. We have it, we spent big money on it. To throw it aside and say, we'll just make a new one is ludicrous.
No, I'm not
We
looking
have
at-
it.
I'm looking
And so
at-
that's where we're gonna get the
Get
plan
going,
from.
you know, 'cause we-
Everything's there. Everything's already been predetermined.
Right now,
Yeah.
the moratorium is kicking off all of this stuff. The concept of moratorium is kicking off all of it. We've got to get something done. We've got to at least be a little, we've been proactive, but I think we have to be more proactive than we've been. And get some
absolutely.
more of these things moving. The internal situation at the plant, that's got to be addressed ASAP. That can't be dragged out for another 2 or 3 or 4 years.
But, you know, there has, you know, other positive notes are, you know, we've worked very well, we secure a lot of grants, you know, the WPCF has a great relationship with the granting agencies, DEP is very happy with the work that's been done so far, so again, you ask the question, does DEP look at this, they're involved every step of the way, so yeah, if we have a project that goes horribly wrong, that's gonna look negative when we submit again the following year. You're gonna say, wait a second, last year was a catastrophe. I don't know if, this is, but we've been doing very good with DEP, is the good news. So the town is in a very good position to apply for these funds and be very competitive. But again, they're big dollar projects, and we have to figure out where the money's coming from, appropriation, we have to work into the schedule of town meetings, and then the intended use plan and project,
It's a jungle.
it
It
is.
is, and one of the key things of this whole thing, no matter what we do, if the procurement office is not involved, we have nothing.
So yes or no on the moratorium? Yeah, right. Kind of getting off the moratorium, people.
But, I mean, it sounds like it's a yes, with the exception of previously committed projects. And I don't want to speak on behalf of Guy, but, I mean, the moratorium's just that,
Yep.
we're good.
So I forgot my notebook. What I did is I took out GATRA, give those gallons away. We can give away 22,000 gallons of flow comfortably. And after that, I think we should do some serious consideration. Whether we give it to these projects, 22,000. If we give it to these projects, we can, without a doubt, because these projects can be consumed.
I think
But
those
after-
were 7,500, I did some quick
Something
add.
like that, yeah.
so
So we
almost
can,
half of it right there.
we can, it's right, we can, but now we gotta be really cognizant that we got 15.
22,000 per day?
Yes. That's what we have. And that's removing things that didn't happen, about 246,000 committed.
Okay.
I subtracted. No, but there was others. If you, I don't, you get the list? I don't have, I apologize. I have it at my office. It's, I was waiting for Russ. I wanted to go over it with him before he came here, but Russ, we, not lack of communication, I think. So. Yeah, well, listen, you guys, what you guys don't know is every chance he gets,
If I suggested that we have a moratorium until our monthly flow was below 1 million gallons, would that be realistic?
no, I don't know what you mean. For the year or just for 1 month?
Yeah.
Because we're only at 1 million gallons now, but if you look,
It's gonna creep up with these
yeah,
months to come.
so let's just look at that and
Well,
see if we
the
understand.
next 6 months we're looking at are 1 million plus.
Yes, we're looking at some high
So
numbers.
basically what I'm saying is, the moratorium lasts until the snowbirds leave.
See, so you gotta be careful with that, though, because again, if we start getting, if it's a wet summer, the groundwater rises, that means a whole lot more I&I. So if we have properties tying back in and the I&I creates overflows,
Because you got spring,
In the
fall,
moratorium during that period.
Why don't we put the moratorium in now?
I didn't say not. I said until it goes below.
Okay.
and I understand what you're saying. So in the chance it doesn't go below 1 million, the moratorium is in place.
Stays in fact.
is in place.
So you kind of have this moratorium that maybe for these months, not for these months, it kind of.
Well, we know we're going,
Yeah.
history shows us that we're going to have it till November.
Right, the rainy season and stuff, too.
But if it's wet, it continues. Now, if some of these projects that we're doing and the I&I drops, then the number drops.
I think in conjunction, I agree with you, I think in conjunction with the moratorium, we need to develop a policy like we have for Woodland Cove. They pay us $5 for the gallon they put into the system, we can take that money and go after pipes or sump pumps. We don't, it wasn't a general policy, we put it in with Woodland Cove and a couple others in the mall. Because that,
Let's have another workshop and let's
I
concentrate.
agree with you.
On finding some way to deal
solution.
with sump pumps. Get the authority to go after them.
because, you know, if
Well, but
If we're-
let's just get it done.
well, the sump pumps we're beginning to address with the E1s, and that's the beginning, and we're gonna get that project going. And we see the great success with that, we'll continue it. That's why I don't wanna lose sight of money for that. But I think when Woodland Cove goes on, here's the theory, Woodland Cove goes online, so we said to them, they're gonna pay us $5 a gallon, so the numbers were huge. So let's say it's $130,000. That money goes to something, whether it's fixing pipes, doing something, but we're asking them to help us neutralize the commitment they're bringing into us. I think we got to
But what
consider
I
that.
want to do is I want the town to have to get and help us get at these sump pumps so that the numbers go down,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't get any new businesses.
I like it. It's,
Yeah, I mean,
We gotta get some teeth in the sump pumps.
absolutely,
you're treating a lot of clean water.
a lot of
There
clean
you
water.
go.
And if you look at,
But we're not getting any help.
I know.
So let's have a workshop and really work on the sump pump. Let's come up with a policy and stuff it down the selectmen's throat.
If you tie it to commitment, or, connecting and sump, if you tie them together, you're right.
Well, that's why I say.
get everybody's
We do
attention.
the moratorium on gallons.
Yep. It's a good point.
I mean, let's, my concern is that if it gets too complicated, the more, but I'd love the direction you're heading. Let me do some homework and think about that and present.
Fine, then you
then
want to
we-
put it off and we'll do it
Put it
at
a
the same
workshop.
time we do the sump pump workshop?
Yes, they're all together, let's.
Is that all right with you, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yeah, I was just looking at a date.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 1,000 gallons a day.
No, so do you have the list?
I was looking for it. I know I have
I have
the
it too. I have it. What I'll do is I'll scan it and send it to everybody so they can see what I deducted, because there's certain projects that didn't have, there was a 40B project, one on Sandwich Road, he backed out, so we took that out. That was 15 to 17,000 gallons a day. There was a couple others, I backed them out, because they'll never happen. They're not approved, so I backed those out. And that came up to 22,000 gallons that I had, that I could say, bring us back to the 246. So that's why I said those gallons we can give away comfortably, without a doubt. And and so I have that all written down, and all based upon the 1 million gallons a day, and I'll show you that. I'll scan it and send a copy to everybody.
Okay, right now, we've got in front of us that we haven't acted on yet is cumulative of about 10,000 gallons per day
What do you mean?
to be approval.
For this here? So this is 10,000 gallons a day?
Collectively.
Yeah, okay. So if everything here is approved, I have some concern with these things, but they're more planning than they are gallons. So if you wanted to approve these gallons, we can put it in, and I'll deduct them. That'll be that.
Okay, so that you would add that 10,000 onto the 246.
And I think we did that last time with the moratorium. It was like first come, first serve.
Yeah,
So we'll put, if we
exactly
do,
what we'll do.
so whatever these are, I'll deduct from the 22, that's what's left over to give away.
So we've got 12 to give away.
Yes. Yes.
So if we establish a moratorium, first come, first served.
First come,
then
first serve.
Until that 12,000 is used
Till
up.
that
and then-
12,000 is used up, unless we can find
All the gallons.
other gallons from someplace.
And maybe they'll work on the sump pumps. Maybe they'll help us find those gallons, because it's critical to the entire town, to Peter's point. It's not just our problem, it's the whole town's problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's a valid point.
So when we're we have 4 projects here that are 10,000, 100,000, 10,000.
1,000,
Danny Warren's restaurant, right?
3,500.
The
But you-
development on 108 High Street,
1,000.
It's a lot.
the 2 Nazi properties for 45 bedrooms.
3,000 on one and 2,000 on the other, I believe. Ballpark. 1,200 on one, 1,200, that was the High Street one. 3,500 on Danny's.
I thought Danny was already in.
Thought he was too. I
The
didn't-
second project, the meeting didn't happen.
This
Excuse me?
is,
The meeting didn't, this is the Hans building.
no, wait a minute, this is,
Bye-bye, Russ.
The one next to the
this
lawyer.
is,
Thank
which
you.
one, this one
Yes, thank you, Russ.
is Advanced Engine, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's a different one, Peter. That's Advanced Engine,
Oh, the other one was the ice cream shop or something?
yeah.
The restaurant.
Right.
All right. So we're gonna go through these one at a
And
time?
just out of, out of curiosity, I don't know when the CDU, okay, we had this discussion the other day, we never got anywhere with it. Because there was a restaurant there before,
Wasn't tied into sewer, that's
but
the
it
issue.
wasn't tied to sewer, that's what, so, okay, so we never tied to sewer, it was only tied to sewer after it became Advanced Engine. Okay, I understand. Okay, that's 3,500, 4,700, and another, 3,000. It's 5, 6, and
I think, remember, there's 4 projects, but one of them is a reduction. One of Nazi's
None
problem,
of them are reductions. They're
Yeah,
all,
no, there's one
it's
that's
a
a-
reduction of this to add on to that.
no, they're not, so here's what I'm saying to you. Let's go to the one on High Street.
Street.
108 High Street. That's, right now, they're putting in 1,330 gallons a day because it was a dentist's office. That's what the dentist's office in the house flowed. With the new project of the duplex he's doing, the flow's gonna be 1,200 gallons a day. That's a reduction, so that one's a wash, and we give him that one because it's a reduction. One at 108 High Street. That's a reduction. So that one is a no-brainer. That one's let him do his thing there, it's a reduction.
Are you gonna treat these separately, Jimmy, or all of them?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Okay, just accept them all at
Yeah.
once. Do you want a motion?
You know what I mean? That's a reduction. 108 High Street.
Yeah, it's a reduction of 120 gallons.
Yeah, it's a reduction, so it's not adding to it, so that, even if we,
I wasn't looking at it, right now I was just looking at what the net amounts that they were talking about.
you know, I have to look at what they're adding to the
So
system.
all you're saying is that they're adding 120 gallons less to the system.
Less, we're
That's all.
gaining 120 is what I'm saying, so that's not an impact to us.
I make a motion, we accept the hookup at 108 High Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're up. And how about 176 Main Street? No, wait a minute, excuse me, let me do it on the same street here. And you've got one for, High Street with no number.
So that's if you, that's actually 80, I think it's, what, 3-something 84 Main Street? That's a convoluted one. What the heck did I do with them? Did Russ take them on me?
So we're talking about the map 61, lots 1, 1057A, 1057B, and 1057C.
Affirmative.
Russ, he took my
Nazi's
plans.
property of
It's all,
6 duplexes, 3 duplexes.
right.
So let me just be clear, 434 Main Street was the old, what is it, Cooney Dr. Cooney's
No, we're
property?
not talking there yet. We're talking of what
other
he's
one.
developed on the High Street side.
It's the same property.
Yes, it is.
Okay, it is, but I want to be clear, that road is paved, and he's asking to cut into it, and I'm a little nervous about that, so I may have to talk to him about that, because I can give him the gallons, but he may not be able to go there.
Well,
And then he's got to go frontwards, and that's a whole new set, and I got to talk about that too, so that's why I was concerned
we're
about
here
this.
to talk.
Okay,
So if we talk about, they are 3 duplexes for a total of 18 bedrooms?
yes. So it's, yes, it's 18 bedrooms on that one. Let me make sure I'm not telling a story.
So he's got an increased storage of 1,760 gallons per day.
Mm-hmm.
on that
18
particular
bedrooms.
Unit.
But he's asking for 1980.
No, he said the total, yeah, the total, the completion would be 1980, but
Right,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
as an existing 2-bedroom apartment, an existing ground loft, and the calculated increase to the existing sewage flow would be 1,760 gallons per day.
And that's what we're going to approve, that increase. We're going to say the 1980,
Because he already has that.
he has. So we're adding to the system 1,760 gallons a day.
Right.
Because the other part we're already seeing.
Oh, I see what you're getting at, all right. So you're dropping 20.
1210.
How many apartments
we're
are
down
on this
now we're
lot?
down to
Have a motion on
9,000.
Everything you see, it's 18 plus 27.
No, how many apartments exist today on that lot?
2 apartments, it's a garage, and then the house. So
Okay, so he's taking the house and
Down.
and subtracting it from the High Street side, even though the house is on Main Street.
no,
To do with-
Says High Street.
he doesn't, no,
All High Street.
What?
Says High Street.
I
Just-
know, but
it's half
isn't
of
the
it.
house on Main Street?
No idea.
The big white house.
it is. So
opposite
look at your plans.
CVS.
Look at your plans.
Yes,
Guys.
yeah,
Okay, so let me explain to you.
okay.
Who cares where the house is? We're talking gallons.
Yes,
Plus 80, yeah.
yeah, I got that. I know, but, okay, how many apartments are on this lot that Nazi just is trying to develop
18 plus 27 apartments.
today?
Today, there's
We
no,
have, we have two in an apartment.
that's it.
How many come out of the house?
Well, the house is, I think it's a 5-bedroom house.
Okay, I don't see that coming off of his reduction.
Yeah.
He did it individually.
Oh, I see, he's got 8 bedrooms in the big house.
Okay, whatever, so it's individual.
So for the High Street component, 3 duplexes are 18 bedrooms. The net increase to the flow is 1,760 gallons per day,
Right. That's all we're talking about.
right?
Yep.
So it's not as many, it's not as,
Can I get a motion on this one?
I make a motion, we allow the tie-in for the 3 duplexes on High Street.
Second?
Second.
Donna, okay, all in favor? At the moment Peter's out, so it'll be 3-0. 0. Okay, the next one, this is map 61, 434 Main Street, with an addition,
So we're talking 9 townhouses at 3 bedrooms apiece.
I'm interested in is how many,
That's 27 bedrooms.
that's correct.
And he's saying today, it will be a total of 2970 minus the 880 it's using today.
So it's 2,090.
2,090
Yeah. So,
is how much he's looking for,
so
additional.
we'll have an additional 880 gallons a day?
No, we'll have additional 2,090, because right now they're doing 880 gallons a day. That's what the building does. He wants to increase it to 27 bedrooms, which is 2970. Deduct the 880 from the 2970, which gives you the 2,090. So 2,090 is the increased capacity or the increased flow to the system.
Oh, so, okay. Wow. A lot.
Okay, do I have a motion on this one?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. On motions for all these, I have no problem with approving the gallons, but make sure we know they're subject to plan approval.
As always.
Okay, I want to make sure.
Zoning, planning, whoever has to approve it, sewer.
Sewer plan approvals, because if it doesn't come to us after this ever again, I want to make sure nothing changes.
Okay. No. Yeah, included is, all of these are based on sewer plan approvals.
Absolutely.
I have a motion on this item, number 434.
I make a motion, we approve the hookup of 434 Main Street with an additional 2,090 gallons per day.
Subject to plan approval.
Well, I'm going to come back to that, all 4 of
Okay.
them at one time.
All right, second, somebody?
Second.
Donna, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 400.
The next one is 176 Main Street.
All right, and that's for a restaurant, that's in the,
Do we know how many gallons today that business is using?
Which one is that? I'm
The
sorry.
one at
Advanced
Advanced Engineering?
No, I don't, it's very minimal, because he has just a few, he has bathrooms.
So he's looking for 3,500 gallons per day.
Yes, and that's a total increase, and,
Sorry?
yes, you're right, that's a total increase, so that's the reason, that's what we're doing, yes.
okay, do I have a motion on 176 Main Street?
I make a motion, we allow the connection of 176 Main Street to the sewer for additional 3,500 gallons per day.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 400.
And I make an additional motion that these 4 projects would just be approved, are only to be implemented once they have been approved by an engineering plan?
Yes, engineering plans approved.
Engineering plan must be
Approved.
approved before the hookup can happen.
That's right, approved by the sewer
So
department,
that's my
yes.
motion.
Which one's that, Sandy?
My motion is that all 4 of these projects
Oh,
cannot go forward until there is an approved
Septic plan.
septic plan.
Accepted by the sewer department. 'Cause my problem is if we don't see it, so I want to make sure that we see everything, and so it stays like it says it is. So,
Approved septic plan approved by
the sewer department,
sewer department.
yes.
That's the motion, all 4 of them at one time.
I second it.
All in favor?
wait a
Aye.
second,
Aye.
wait a second.
We're not gonna allow them to tie in until we have an approved plan.
So how are we gonna know that they get approved? What if they're not approved?
They're not gonna tie
They
in?
can't tie in. So if you look at these plans, everything here is conceptual. Nothing's real. So
Okay.
we have.
So you wanna see an as-is?
I'm gonna see
Or
what they,
as-built.
yes, what they're gonna build. So what they'll do is these conceptual will become construction plans. Then we'll review the construction plans to make sure that it meets the criteria. That's all
Okay,
it is.
I understand what you're saying. And what I'm thinking is this the point where we want to have some sort of an approval process? And it happens on anything that has to do with building in the sewer department. We're complaining that we don't know what's happening at the building department, and things get done, and we don't get the word, and somebody's already tied in. Is this the kind of thing we want to set up some sort of a policy?
These plans, these are new constructions, they're tear downs and new constructions. So they have to go to the planning board, zoning, the whole 9 yards. So these
Fine,
plans,
but at the planning board, do they have to have your signature
They
to go
do.
forward?
they do. Because on
But
the,
did they do on everything?
not everything, not change of use,
Well,
that,
that's
Those
what
are
I'm
the
getting
things that
at.
slide
That's
through
what
the-
I'm getting at.
and I don't know how to get those, but yes.
For discussion, then part of this is we, as the sewer commissioners, must send a notice to planning and zoning, whoever it is, that their tie-in has not yet been approved until there is an accepted engineering septic plan approved by the.
Yes, that's
But
what,
we
but
have
you're
to-
doing it on this one, yes.
We have
And that's
to write
terrific.
that to planning for each one of these 4 projects.
Yeah, so these 4 projects will get a little control.
We do.
Because we will notify planning that it's not approved until the plan, hookup plan is approved.
Right, okay, but
Going,
let's grow on that. How do we make it work for everything?
And that's
can
part
we
of
have
that
that
workshop. We have to
discussion
figure it out.
another
That'll be a
workshop?
workshop.
That's a workshop. We're gonna figure it
I'm
out.
putting that down right now.
Okay, but,
I am fading fast.
thank you.
I am fading fast.
You were more
Gonzaga's
Prozac or-
losing.
Gonzaga's losing? The games are on?
Yes, they
I couldn't
started at
find them.
7:30.
I would not, I would have,
CBS and TBS.
I would have canceled the meeting if I had known. I would have.
I approve.
So this is ladies, right, or is it men?
Oh,
But
men's.
do you see my point?
Oh, no, I don't have a problem. I'm just making notes on, so I remember to do that on the,
All right.
that's what I'm doing.
So I make a motion that we approve that Jimmy Gibberti sends a letter to planning regarding nothing is to be approved
I would-
until,
I would kind of hold on that just a second,
Let-
Sandy. I'm in favor of that, and
Oh.
plan on doing some, I just hold on that because we need to get this fleshed out a little bit
Workshop.
better in a workshop, and we're gonna do that shortly.
I just don't want planning. I don't want GAF going to planning saying, we have sewer approval.
He's going to. So what I'm gonna do tomorrow,
I just don't
Just-
want GAF doing that.
and I don't either, so so you're aware, tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go into computer system for the building, and I'm gonna put on the permit that sewer needs a plan approved by the sewer department of the sewer appendages and everything else before this can be approved for sewer connection. I'm gonna do that online tomorrow, and then we can follow up with a letter. Because the sooner the better, because things move fast and fall
So
through
the
the cracks.
motion was 400 to, oh. The hookups cannot occur until final approval of a septic plan by the sewer department. I think that was my motion. And we voted 400. Okay. I'm losing track.
Okay,
It's a
moving,
20-year note.
Is it 20-year now?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh, don't give me those numbers. I can't even,
put your glasses on, Sandy.
oh, excuse me.
Put your
Jimmy.
glasses on your ears.
Yep.
Are we
I'm
gonna deal
facing
with
the
this
same
at all?
thing with the $1 million loan for CPC for the golf course. I'm looking 5-year or 10-year and it looking at my principal and
Okay,
interest
forget
per
it, forget
year.
it. Okay.
It's not on the agenda, I can't do it.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, this budget transfer discussion, what was,
That was to transfer the capital to outside contractor?
oh, that's right.
No, also, we did the budget transfer. What we're also looking for
Is
is.
that what you want for the budget transfer, or is there
No,
something else?
No, something else. Only because here's what's going on. I'm going to write up a budget transfer, and I'm gonna have to get it approved. So what's happening is, we have in our, if you look at, I think Jim has seen it, but our outside contractors is way over budget, because we're paying for outside help. What I'm asking is a transfer from payroll into that line of outside contractor. Has to be done at town meeting, she's telling me. So I think our deadline is Monday. No, the 28th. That's Monday, right?
Monday,
Yeah, so I'll have to write something up.
but that's for special spring.
Yeah, I don't care where it goes.
Your budget is not in special spring, it's in spring.
No, this is this year's budget. It's.
Oh, the current one.
Yeah, we're gonna move some money around. This is per Judy. We
Okay,
just got this, so.
then you must do it for special spring affecting FY '22. Has
That's
to be
right.
done
By
by the deadline, which is Monday.
Monday, yeah. So I want to put something together, I'll get it out to the board and tell me what you think, but that's, Judy told us, I was just, because we have a bottom
Well,
line
you need to
budget.
do that, I mean, you don't, you'll be taking payroll money and using it for outside contractors indirectly,
It's payroll.
but
You don't-
it's payroll, so
you
you
don't
need
need
to
us.
get over there to do that.
Just make
Okay,
it
I just
happen.
want, because I don't like, one thing that bothers me in life, and probably is blindsided. I'll tell you, I'll do the work. Just like the forgiveness of the interest paid by the housing, I can do that with John, don't need your approval. So we're doing that, that's done, and that's why Bob was coming, because he gave us that note.
Yeah.
I'm addressing it. I'm getting rid of I already talked to John, we're getting rid of the interest, because they have a special circumstances, that when their money comes in, they pay the bill. It may be on the due date, but they have no control of it, none.
Right.
So I understand it, so we're gonna address that. And then I told him I'd evaluate, he said he's got something to do with the buildings and bathrooms and laundries. I said, I'll look at that and I'll address that. But, so that's all being taken. So I said to him, you can come, but I'm taking care of the issue. And so, don't waste your time. So that's our conversation.
So you okayed that? You're taking care of that? Great.
I am.
Okay, that's off the table. Okay,
And the budget transfer discussion, that's taking it
From payroll,
from payroll to
outside
outside
contractors,
contractors?
yes.
Yeah.
That's all, that's what I'm
So
gonna
we
do.
have to take it to town meeting?
I believe so. I
yeah,
just, I
you
think,
do, you'll have to
Yes,
just
you
get the
do.
approval.
I believe so. So I'll talk to, Judy is, I talk on the phone, but what I'll do is I'll write it up,
Motion and a vote on that here, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, fine.
and I'll get it to
It's day to
Derek.
day.
Yep, that's what I,
And I'll get it over to
That's where I put
Derek.
it.
And then we'll get it on and make sure it's the language, all that good stuff.
sewer superintendent's report, do you have anything
That's
further?
it. We'll talk to, yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
You will be giving us the list of what we released after the last moratorium was lifted. I can't find a summary.
I do, I have it, I have the, if,
I
also.
normally, I can't find it.
Also, look, it's called the evaluation, the GHD evaluation memorandum. It's in there, it's like 7
Okay,
pages.
yep.
It's in there also.
Okay.
But I'll get it to you. I'll scan it and send it over.
So just to let you know, by the time of the 22,000 we had available, we now have 4,430 left.
Yeah, this is gonna be a quick,
Well, that was, we only gave away 7,350.
I don't think so. Actually,
Yeah?
Okay. So I haven't done the math yet. So 7,350 from 22,000 is,
Oh, yeah, it's 14,000.
okay,
14430, 14,430
okay,
gallons per day we have left of our
right.
available.
okay.
Okay, moving on, grinder pumps, we're talking about that with the E1 system. Some of the information that we've been getting on the side, I don't know how valid it is, but I think it's pretty good, on how grinder pumps are not good, however,
Of the 5
would
reasons,
you re-explain what grinder pumps do? Because one of the things that was lacking in an explanation that needs to be clarified is, how does a grinder pump affect sump pumps? 'Cause we're saying we're gonna put them in to get rid of sump pumps, and I don't think people understand how that will work.
so what happens is the sump pump puts such a pressure into the grinder pump that it can't handle the increased flow instantaneously, and it stops.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
That's what my understanding is
why
why the grinder pump,
That's why Guy needs to
That's why
run this explanation again, so we understand what
the
we're
grinder pumps run off the tank. When the
So-
tank gets to a certain point, the grinder pump kicks on. So if the tank is empty and the sump pump kicks in, the grinder pump doesn't come on till the tank gets to such and such a level. Now, if the sump pump keeps pumping, then the grinder pump keeps pumping. It doesn't eliminate the sump pump.
so it
But
doesn't,
So let me be clear. So here's the thing. What it does, and this is where the enforcement comes in, because it's a no-brainer. So the sump pump, let's give you, so sump pump pumps 130 gallons a minute. The grinder pump pumps 50 gallons a minute. So the sump pump, it fills up, grinder pump comes on at 50 gallons a minute, but it's taken in 130. It keeps filling until it can't go anyplace. The alarm comes on, and it can't go out because it's coming in fast and goes out, and so it slows everything down and has the potential to back up into the house. But the alarm is going to be blaring. We get the alarms. We're going to come to there and answer the alarm. We're going to find it surcharged by the sump pump. We're going to charge them, to be between $200 and $400 to be there. So every time we get the alarm, we're going to go there and say, oh yeah, that's your sump pump. And one of the hope is that can we come in and see it, and you got to disconnect it. But every time that sump pump goes, the alarm goes off because the grinder cannot keep up with it. It just simply can't.
Can it keep up with the washing machine?
Yes. Washing machine pumps about 15 gallons a minute. So it's all by flow. Some pumps
All
are
right,
high velocity.
so it's not that the grinder pumps, that the sump pumps are eliminated because of the grinder pumps. What it is part of our detective process.
Because it can't handle it.
Gotcha.
And the alarm goes off.
That makes a lot more sense. However, I've been told, reliable sources, that grinder pumps are 4 times as expensive. They're prior to clogging, and they use a high amount of energy.
It's not true.
Well, they use an 8 amp 230 service.
So the only way to do that is to, the existing ones we have, look at their sewer bills. What we did is we took an E1 and put it in Oak Street, I think it's 22 Oak Street, and we compared it to the bonds, we pulled the bonds, and it has total metering on it. And their total electrical cost was negligible for the year. So there's hard facts. If you had an older model, let's say 20 years ago, I may agree with you. But the high efficiency motors of today, no. And that's all documented in the literature put out by E1 and by the people that are using them. So those are the facts that we're using, and reliable sources, I don't know, there are a lot of reliable sources.
Now-
I'm also told there's a lot of problems clogging. Well, let's get real. Baby wipes cannot go down a grinder pump.
I understand
Little,
that.
so it's gonna plug. And so when I go there to clear it,
So the alarm's gonna go
and
off.
I'm gonna go there and clear it, I'm
Okay.
gonna charge you,
Now, wait a
go
second.
ahead.
Who's going to do the servicing?
We are. Absolutely.
You don't have the manpower to do what you're doing.
We are, because it's, we have the man, we hire outside help to do the stations. We just add this into it. It's not, and it's not like they go down every day. Their longevity, I think people exaggerate. And talk to Marion on the service, talk to Warren on how much service, talk to Nantucket.
Marion's got 450 pumps, and
What's the service?
they budget $800,000 a year.
To service them. I haven't seen that number, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I
And
can't
they use
answer.
an outside contractor.
Yeah, a lot of them do
And they
because,
also suggesting putting the pumps closer to the house.
Nantucket puts them on the street, Edgartown puts them on the street, Chelmsford, so there's some communities that disagree. Because,
Well,
but
you
what,
go look at the area that we're considering doing,
that's, and I have,
and whether you put them close to the house or close to the property line,
not that far.
they're in the same spot.
Yes, I'm saying it's not that far, so we're gonna go in the street.
Right, but we're putting a burden on the homeowner when we put these pumps in, if they now have to bring out a 230 volt, 8 amp line,
I don't know.
and
The
it's a
homeowners-
dedicated circuit.
The homeowner's putting a burden on these pump stations that keep burning pumps because they're flushing indiscriminately. So do we continue to take the burden, or?
But I mean, I'm just bringing out playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
I'm totally in favor of doing it and getting the system higher above ground. It's just that if we're gonna do this, do we owe them something? Do we allow the homeowner some sort of, you know, a rebate of something for his electrical costs, so what it's gonna cost him? And the other thing is, when we say we're gonna put them at the property line, if we had a hypothetical case of the house is here and the property line is that back wall, we don't know where that pipe descended to 17 feet out there.
Yeah, we do. We have records of it. Yeah,
So are we
placards.
gonna have to dig up the whole lawn?
No, we're gonna put the thing in, the homeowner is going to install it, and that's in the homeowner. That's their contribution, absolutely. They're gonna do that part, because if I do it, then I have to have permission and easements to get on their property. I'm not going there. They're gonna take care of that. They're gonna take care of it all. Like, yeah. Hey, Jim, I mean, Pete, yeah, there's probably gonna be some pushback, just like when we tie into normal sewer, we get major pushback, nobody can afford it. But there's funds available if they have to do it through the sewer program that we have in town. They can go borrow money at a very low interest rate. There's all kinds of ways of doing it, and,
Now, I thought Russ was doing the engineering in this, but he says no.
no,
it's-
Bader's doing the engineering.
Who?
Bob Drake.
When are we gonna hear from him?
We've heard from him. We had a meeting with Sandy, we've heard from him, we got, and we'll.
That's me, that's not the rest of them.
Yes, but we'll sit at the board when we get the,
But did he come up with a number? I mean, here we're going looking for $3 million. Is
We
that gonna
did, yes.
cover it?
No, the number's there. We did the number right up front. We got the numbers from E1, the cost, and we're gonna bid it, so it may be lower because E1 is the Cadillac of the industry. We quoted that. That's where we got our numbers. If Barnes comes in, they have a great system and they'll be cheaper, so we won't know. We just took the worst case scenario, and that's the number we're flying with. Could come in lower.
Now, you say under these new systems, they have a high efficiency pumps and they use a lot less power?
A lot less power, and they're snap and play.
What's the possibility of running them on a battery?
I don't know. I'd have to ask. I have no idea.
The only reason I suggest it is, if we ran them on a battery and had the homeowner pay for the trickle charge, that if the power went out and the battery kept them running for 3 days, it would eliminate us going out there to run these pumps.
When the power goes out, we've got 34 out there, maybe 44. Since 2012, since he's been online, we've been to the homes probably 3 times to empty them. That's it. So I don't know where the concern comes in that because when the power goes out, most people say, oh, power's out, let me take a shower, let me do my baking, and most people don't do that. And it doesn't happen, so all that doesn't, and if the person has a generator, then it's a no-brainer, because it's gonna run. So that's our experience. We don't go out. We've got a generator and a cord to do this. We've been out 3 times since 2012. So I don't know. I'm just doing about what's happening now.
Well, Marion didn't have it go that way at all. When their power went out, they had people calling them, and they went out, pumped it down, and they call 20 minutes later.
Yeah, that's a problem, because,
Well, it's a problem because the homeowner's using the water.
well, that's a problem.
Well, yes, but you're not going to change that.
So, well, let me ask you, that's Marion. It's not happening in Wareham. So should we base our policy on Marion's? It's not happening in Wareham. We have them, and we don't go out. So I don't know, Peter. I don't know. We have the equipment. We don't take it out. We've used it 3 times since 2012. That's it. So I don't know. I don't have an answer. I can only
Well-
tell you what we're experiencing.
That's why I'd like to have the engineering outfit here
He'll be
to
here.
answer a
He
lot
will.
of these
Once we
questions.
get it more finalized, I think we're at 25%, we want to get it to 80%, which is done, we'll bring it in, it'll definitely be presented.
So,
And it's going to be a few workshops for the public to come in and comment, all that's going to happen
Well,
before we even
I-
put
you
the
know-
shovel in the ground.
Well, I want to see that, and I think the homeowners are going to want to see what expense they're expected to pick up.
It will, it'll all
I
be
mean,
there.
they've paid a betterment once. And it's
And the
not their
betterment-
fault that the engineering on the first betterment was asinine.
The betterment did not cover the sump pumps, and the sump pumps was destroyed the lining. And so you're saying that the town should be responsible for the burning of that lining, 'cause if they didn't have sump pumps, we wouldn't be here.
Well, that's fine for the sump pumps.
What I'm
But
sa-
for the houses that don't have sump pumps, and they hooked up and paid the betterment back in '78, it's not their fault that the engineer had,
So it's not, wait a minute, back in '78, that's, putting that system in, Peter, failed many times. It should have never gone in. But we allowed them homes to be built on property that shouldn't have been built, and it's not our problem. And here we are, Peter.
but that is not all the homes, Guy.
Well, I know that, but here we
Okay,
are.
but what about the homeowner that did nothing wrong? He still has a burden of cost he's going to bear.
Yes, he does.
And
the people that follow the law pay for the person that doesn't follow the law. That's the American way, Peter. It's just, that's the equity of it. We can't, it's just the way it works. I don't know
don't
how else
forget,
to-
we have to sell this at town meeting. If they know they're coming up with a cost that they think they don't deserve, we don't get their vote.
And that's fine. And then they don't get a new system, and they're gonna be backed up all summer, and we're gonna plug the street up, and they're not gonna use their beaches, because they're the ones complaining about us tying up their beaches now. So that's fine, I don't have a problem.
Basically, what you're asking for is a vigilante system.
I'm not.
You're asking one neighbor to take care of the error of the next.
It happens every day. Laws are made
I'm
for a few.
not saying it doesn't happen.
Okay, and I don't know how
It's
else-
just, it's not their burden.
So what's the answer? We pay for everything, they pay for nothing, and they keep abusing
No, I
it.
just think we ought to come up with something fair.
We are, we're gonna collective bid it to get the prices lower to save them money. Yes, we're gonna do everything we can to collectively bid it and make it cheaper so it can be more affordable for everybody. Because what about the people that live in Onset? They're paying for it, so they shouldn't pay? We should deduct it from their bill.
What do you mean they're paying for it?
It's coming out of the budget.
Yeah, everybody's paying for
Okay,
it.
that's what I'm saying. So that's the way it is, Peter. And if we do a project in Onset, everybody
Everybody's
pays for it.
paying for
and
the
that's it.
whole system.
Yes.
But at the one home where he has to hire an electrician to put in this new service.
Get it.
And he has to dig up his yard to hook up to this new pump. It's just that one person that's paying for it.
That's correct.
And he's already paid the betterment once.
You're correct.
He doesn't have a sump pump. He isn't abusing the system, but he is getting stiffed.
I get it.
What he's saying is pretty much that's the American way.
I get it.
think about it, when
There's no answer. There's no answer,
we
Peter.
expanded
There isn't.
the water pollution control facility, that cost was carried by absolutely everybody on town, including those in a septic.
No, it only gets cost by the ratepayers.
No, when we built the plant. Who paid for it? Absolutely everybody in town.
Because it was bought, the original, everything was paid for out of the,
By everybody.
Because there's no sewer users, yes.
Including a person with a cesspool and a
Yes.
whatever. So, I mean, there is something that,
I thought it was built by the EPA.
Well, it was 90 cents on a dollar, Peter. And then the EPA, we built it, they gave us 90 cents on a dollar. So, yeah, when sewer departments, it was built in the day when it was 10 cents out of your pocket, and everybody built them because it was cheap. The government gave it away. I get you. But we still have 10 cents obligation, and once it's done, we own it. and we have to maintain it. And when we did it so it's cheaper, I granted. And then we built it and did the infrastructure, and we had customers, and then we started a process. But originally, it's 10 cents on a dollar. And I don't know, and I really don't remember the exact cost back in 1972 that it went up, and
It's like the new school, we all pay for it.
even the elderly that don't have kids in
Even
the
if I don't have
in
kids.
school, and I had to pay for it, so did Peter. So did Donna. No, wait a minute, you have kids in school?
I'd like to see us move along a little here.
Okay, any other new business? Anything we can settle the grind
When
upon
is the
from now?
next workshop gonna be?
I'm gonna have to let you know, because I haven't worked out a date yet, I'm trying to figure out.
I just wanna let people know I'm gone for the month of April.
You what?
I'm golfing, baby.
When are you gone, Donna?
The month of April,
The whole month?
yeah.
The whole month? No way.
You're a pain in the ass, Donna.
I think we could have talked about this after we were off the air, so people
Okay,
don't
we'll
know you're
we'll
home.
do that after that. Okay, Donna, you're on stage.
All right, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for enduring us.